DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
All right, we are back for session number 3 tonight on our 12 gifts of Christmas for DJs, and we'll be doing that drawing a little bit later tonight. We're going to be giving away some DJ software. Before we get to that, we're going to introduce tonight's guest. I've got Steve Bowen with me. Good evening, Steve.
Evening, John.
Good afternoon, Steve.
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here on a Tuesday afternoon in Australia.
So as you probably are picking up, Steve has got a little bit of an accent. So for those of you who make fun of my Minnesota accent, I saw.
I think you guys have got the accent that I'm speaking normally, but you guys sounded a little bit different.
No, that's the way it goes. And I've had a couple of friends who came down there, Bill Herman and Jason Jones, and they spent some time with you. And ironically, when they come back, they start talking a little bit differently. I don't know what you people do.
And I've introduced them to the cuddle as well, to the hug, to the man hug. So we do a bit of that as well when they come down.
Well, Bill does that, but there's some other creepy things he does. But we won't talk about those.
Let's keep on topic.
So, Steve, for those who are getting to meet you for the first time tonight, kind of give us a little bit of that little elevator speech of who is Steve Bowen.
Okay, so I've been DJing for around 33 years. I'm 51 years of age, started when I was 18. And so in the early to mid 80s, and started, doing, mobiles, and built to nightclubs, and then built a team of around 20 DJs in a small regional area of Australia, down south. And, then kept going from there and doing more mobiles and a little bit of radio. And so it's funny, radio was my second job and mobile DJing was the first job. I got asked to do radio because of my profile with DJing, and then continued on since then and scaled the business back over the last probably 8 to 10 years because it was more headaches than it was worth. And so now I DJ right across Australia, and mostly in my region, of course, and just doing everything from school functions right through to weddings, through to corporate events, just MCing, just DJing, and a combination of both.
What kind of a geographic, you mentioned, of course, through your area, what kind of a distance are you traveling for a lot of your shows?
Well, so just on the weekend, I just traveled probably around, 1,600 kilometers, so 1,000 miles, to do a Christmas party, a corporate Christmas party on the weekend. So, and I got that function from doing a function in Adelaide, which I got that from doing a function in Canberra. I got that from doing a function in Melbourne. And then initially, I'm from a small town called Albury-Wodonga with a population of around about, all up, probably around 90,000.
Okay. So
we're 3 hours drive from Melbourne, nearest capital city there, which is 300 kilometres or 230 odd mile, and it's 6 hours drive from Sydney.
So are you commonly driving 3 hours plus for all your shows, or are there a mix?
Not all of them. I mean, regionally, I do a lot of functions regionally. So there's around the whole region, there's probably 150 odd thousand, within 50 miles. So it's a lot of my work is based here, but once every 3 or 4 weeks, I'll shoot off to a 3 or 4 or 5 hour drive.
Oh, nice. Gets you
or
kind
fly.
of
or fly like I did on the weekend.
Oh, wow. That would definitely give you a different taste and a different feel going outside of your market. My market, I basically kind of within 45 minutes of our office is where I do most of my shows, but occasionally you'll have one that's that 4 or 5 hour drive, and sometimes those are a lot of fun, and sometimes you're thinking, why did I take this event?
Look, it's funny. A lot of people don't realize that as a DJ that you're happy to travel. Like, I think the mindset is that people think, oh, you're a band, so you would travel. You'd go from Melbourne to Sydney to Brisbane, or similar to, you might go to LA to New York and so forth.
Yeah,
and it's no different from my point of view, because I like to deliver. Music is important, and don't get me wrong, it's great, and that's how I started doing it. But very much, it's become a secondary tool in my arsenal of repertoire, for want of a better word, and the personality style of entertainment, and the MCing aspect of it, and getting people involved, bringing them into the show is very much my style of interaction.
So when you first started out, then you mentioned, of course, that the MC and that side of it has evolved and become something that's bigger almost on the music side of it. When you first started, was that the way it was? I mean, have you always been that kind of a louder, a more outgoing MC, or was it something that has evolved over time?
I've always been excitable, for want of a better word, and happy to take the limelight where required. And as I've got a little bit older, you realise that you don't have to take the limelight all the time. I put other people into the limelight more so now,
sure,
which also gives you a bit of credit, for want of a better word, in the background. So, I'm as happy to step up to a 1,000 people, family fun day, as I am to, step back into a wedding and ensure that the bride's mum gets the kudos that she deserves for a special signature moment.
Sure. Yeah, and we've talked about things such as that where, like myself, I've become more of that kind of behind-the-scenes director more than I have that out-front personality. From your experience of doing both, which one have you found has given you more referrals, people who have been like, oh my God, I've got to hire you for our wedding?
Oh, look, for me, without a doubt, it's my performance aspect. Even though I love managing the business and I do love the coordination aspect, for me, it's the performance side of things. I love to, a long time ago, I learnt that the DJ booth was a hindrance, was in my road, and I very much want to get out from behind that and interact. So as soon as I get to an event, regardless of what it is, I'm there to welcome people into it. So regardless of whether it's an outside event, you just welcome everybody through the door, similar to a wedding, similar to, a school function, you're giving the kids a high five or knuckles or,
Whatever,
or just saying hi. And just interacting with them straight away, because if you've ever been to a show, where maybe a live show where you see some things, you'll notice that at some of those, that the actors are out the front on the ticket box and everything else, getting to know their clients before they come in.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Interact with them. And so subconsciously, I've done that and realised only, not so long ago, that that's probably what I'm doing, so that I can connect with people straight up. I'll know who's fun. I'll know who's not to have fun with. I'll know who I can support, and just so that they often they don't even know you're the DJ or the MC. I'll often take photos of them as they come in, so they'll think you're the photographer, and I get them to line up and do some unusual, poses. So because I'm a little bit unruly, I look like a surfie. I'm very much 300 kilometres inland. Never surfed in my life. But it's about interacting and making it fun. I've got 26 different coloured suits, so I enjoy that bright aspect. I'm there to entertain them.
Yeah.
Because if I don't step up and I wait for them to entertain, then I'm really just a bystander in this event, hoping and with my fingers crossed that something happens. So
sure.
I find it when nothing happens, that's the challenge. I love that aspect of the challenge of creating that atmosphere and doing something to make that start.
So to start an event, when you're talking, let's say, again, we'll stick with the kind of a wedding.
Yep.
You see that crowd, they're coming in, you know that you have to be that spark to get them going. What do you rely on to get that spark? Are you talking a personality, an introduction, a welcome, or is it a musical that you've built a connection with? What are you using?
No, look, a bit of everything, like you say there. It's a bit of everything. And I've found every wedding I do now, I go to the ceremony as well. So that's part of the package. I don't offer it out or in. It's just part of the day. So I find that, and where possible, to go to their rehearsal also, so I can connect with the most important people in their lives the day before or
sure.
the week before, after the half a dozen meetings I've had with the bride and groom, either in person or over Skype or something of that nature. So it's very much connecting with them straight away, making people feel comfortable, helping the celebrant, and bringing all the suppliers together so that you take responsibility for the day on behalf of the bride and groom. So I'm like their host or their gopher or just their fluffer, whatever it takes to make their day work and to make it easy and make people feel comfortable. I have a personality style that's happy to just go up and say hi to somebody, make them feel comfortable so that they know you're vulnerable, that you're open to take requests at a later stage, or that they can ask you something, so that they know that you're running the day for them without telling them that you're running the day.
Sure. So obviously,
when they come in, for example, to reception, they've already seen me at the ceremony, and I've either said after the ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, kick back, relax. We've got some canapes and hors d'oeuvres, or we've got some refreshments on the lawn. You're welcome to go back to reception in another hour, for cocktail hour or for pre-dinner drinks. So please enjoy that. And if all the family members could make their way over here for the family photos, the rest of you, enjoy. So it's just so letting people know. I've found that on weddings, especially, the guests don't know what's happening.
Yes.
If you've got a great MC, it's like, oh, what do we do now? I don't know. What time's the reception start? I don't know. What time, what do we do? So just let people know, inform them all the time, keep them in the loop so they're engaged in the day.
Yeah, that's definitely important things for someone who isn't getting into it or hasn't done weddings, that keeping people in the loop, as you say, is an incredible little thing that really helps, because they're like, hey, this day flowed so smoothly and I just enjoyed it because, we knew it was coming up. There was no surprises. It just went along and it just felt so relaxed.
Well, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean I don't throw some surprises in, but it's also making sure they know about it. And, surprises not only for the guests that the bride and groom know about, but also sometimes for the bride and groom as well. So there's definitely a line that you don't want to cross, and I'm aware of where that line is. I've done a lot of study on personalities. I've done a lot of study on self-awareness, a lot of different workshops. I do a lot of motivational speaking at schools on accelerated learning and doing activities and games with the youth. And then that brings up behaviour, and then we talk about the behaviour rather than the youth themselves. So behaviours can be changed and modified, whereas we're not then having a go at the person directly.
You mentioned personalities. And of course, a lot of these things are tied together. Now, you've got kind of when Bill first explained you to me, he was talking about this guy that's got this over-the-top personality that is the loudest person in the room without saying a word.
Yeah.
I think is how he explained that. Now, how do you balance that, especially when you're coming and you're talking or working with people and you have more of an introverted family? I mean, how do you adjust yourself?
So my marketing style, my logo for my business, which is Bowen's Entertainment, which is just my surname, but my logo is serious fun. So I market for that person who's looking for some serious fun. And people don't think I'm serious, which I very much am. I'm very serious about making sure people have a great time.
Sure.
And I think marketing, so by wearing a different coloured suit to your normal black, grey, brown, boring, I'm there as an entertainer. I'm there to ensure that people have a good time. And all my bride and grooms, for an example, get to choose what colour suit they'd like me to wear. Now, every now and then, some say, oh, can you wear black? And sure, if that's their style, no problem at all. But generally, I don't market for that style of person who's looking for that stiff, stale, black, don't do anything wrong type. Not necessarily don't do anything wrong, don't do anything out of the norm type.
Yeah.
I'm really marketing for that person who's looking for something unique, something different, something better than their sister's wedding, something, just something that we can stamp their own styles on. And, I don't have to be in the limelight, but very much help them get their guests either into the limelight, or sometimes people get me at their weddings so that for bride and groom, so that they can actually take a step back from the limelight because they're very uncomfortable with it. And so I can step into that for them and help the guests feel a bit more comfortable. So it's a very, not every wedding's the same, and not every wedding, I'm flamboyant and out there, but I'm definitely wearing a coloured suit, and that's a start to entertaining without saying a word.
Sure.
Without saying a word, just to turn up in a light purple suit. Tonight, now I've got a mid-year school graduation, So I've got the gold suit in the car ready to go tonight. Last night I did a primary school, wore a green suit, a lime green suit. So I've got them personally made for different occasions.
Very nice.
And I wear a much louder suit at a school event and so that's become my branding, the long hair and the coloured suits. And in this region where I am, people know that for me, and subconsciously that's become my branding now. So if I ever go somewhere without a suit, I walk down the street and people see me, I've done an event, they say, "Oh, you're not wearing a suit." I say, man, I'm not doing a function. I don't wear them every single day, but it's become like a uniform, for one of the better word, when you're entertaining.
Yeah, that was one of the big takeaways from when, now I can't think of it, LMFAO, when he was, when the gentleman was there, I can't even think of his name. Anyway, he was at Mobile Beat, and he talked about that when he's going down the street and people...
Red Food.
Yes, Red Foo, thank you. When Red Foo's going down the street, and people expect him to be Red Foo and Red Foo all the time, and I bet you that's the same thing you're running into.
Yeah, and look, and so even though it's still me, you've got to be authentic. You can't just be this, this way out there person. And like I said, there's levels of way out there, and what you would consider way out there, somebody might not, and vice versa. So it's about balancing that level. And from my point of view, it's very much about, it's just an enhanced version of me when I'm entertaining, but, that's still me, maybe a bit quieter during the day. So, just to talk one-on-one with you guys, I'm just talking like this. To talk at an event, it'd be, "Hi, how you going? Great to see you."
Yeah.
It's got to be a smile. It's got to be a little bit more. And when you say something on the microphone, if it's not worth listening to and you don't sound happy and bright and that you want to do that, man, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, there's times where it's better to be quiet.
I couldn't do an event. I could not do an event now without a microphone. It just wouldn't work. Just couldn't do it.
And we were talking about that in our early days when we first started out. The microphone was like this thing that was there, or even if we had one. I know we did shows without microphones back in the very first shows, is we were just happy to be playing music. And if we could play music without dead air, we were happy.
And that's how you start. That's how you start. And even when I was doing nightclub DJing, I would still welcome my guests or the patrons into the nightclub and say hi to them as they come through, get a gauge on where they're at, what they like to hear. And so I could sort of take them on a journey a little bit, and it become a real a personalized nature for the event. And I did that for several years.
Yeah. It's a cool thing, and that people will remember that, especially when you're engaging them. Even if you're engaging them over the microphone, as long as you're not doing it in an insulting or weird way like that. But
no, and it's always about lifting. It's always about lifting up people. So whenever I mention something on the microphone or I have someone in the limelight, it's about turning them into a legend, not about, as Australia would say, taking the piss out of them. When I was younger, I was a smart ass. There's no doubt about it. And not until I had an autistic child that I realized that we say so many things that don't mean anything. And he's now 26. And if you don't speak literally or say what you mean, doesn't get it. And so, he's high functioning still with Asperger's, but it allowed me to be a better communicator, ask for what I want rather than, beating around the bush, it's an Australian term, or going around, from behind or something of that nature.
Nope.
It's very much allowed me to be a great communicator, a much better listener. And I learned a lot of that from Bill Herman and Jason Jones as well too, about really listening, and when I did their entertainment experience workshop too. So it's really just enhancing those things as you go through. And it's funny, I haven't really been trained by anyone, internationally, and all the big names that you hear about. I've worked on this with my team back then, a long time ago, trying to be creative, trying to be best practice from wherever you are. So it doesn't matter whether you live in a big capital city, because wherever I go, if someone says I'm doing a function in a capital city, they say, "Oh, where are you from? Capital city or another capital city?" No, I'm regionally from Albury-Wodonga. And they go,
sure.
"Oh," and they say, "Oh, how come you're here?" After they've just said how great the show was. Oh, I mean, how do I say, "Oh, it's because I'm really good at what I do and I'm happy to travel, and the way I do an event is very different to anyone else," just like it is you, John, and like it is anyone else that's listening. You've got to understand that we are all unique in the way we deliver a show and the way we speak on the microphone and the way we present our music and the way we present ourselves is very much part of the authenticity of making that a really unique event.
We got a couple of questions.
Fire away.
And we're going to be questions, and we're going to be all over the board here because I wanted to continue on our conversation, but I want to hit these before we get too far.
Okay.
Someone had asked about, you mentioned details about how you engage a crowd. Mm-hmm. And they're wondering if you could give a little bit more details on how you engage that crowd. And I think probably specifically when you have that large group of people in front of you, and I'm thinking they're talking on a microphone, to probably give a couple examples if you could.
Okay, so first up, let's say I've got because everyone talks about weddings whenever I hear something, and let's talk about a family fun day. So I do a lot of family fun days where you have children from 6 to 15 and their parents.
Yep, there you go. I was going to say, define that for us because that may not be something that everyone's familiar with.
So, for example, I've just done a Christmas party on the weekend where it's kids from 0, newborns, right through to 13 years of age, and then their parents and family and friends. So if you ask the kids, they would say I'm there to entertain the parents. If you ask the parents, they would think I'm there to entertain the children. Because I love that crossover. I love doing different events because it allows me to expand my repertoire. It allows me to expand my tools of trade from me as the instrument. So just the first thing is, if you're not welcoming the people in personally without the microphone first up, then I'm doing it on the microphone. Hi, folks. Welcome along. Great to see you all here. Grab a spot. Put your picnic rug down. We're going to play some tunes for you. Come up and see me and say hi before we get underway. And then I'm out mixing with them. So I'm saying hi to them, how they're going, welcome them to whatever the event it is, asking them if they've got a favourite song. Do they do a special performance? Is it something that they like to do? So really breaking that ice and actually just going out there and saying, hi, I'm Steve. If it's no different to you going to McDonald's and they've got a big badge with their name on it, and that makes them vulnerable. So you become that vulnerable person. And so I'm like that, and my big badge is my coloured suit. So already they know that I'm there for a bit of fun. I've got long, straggly, curly hair, and I've got a happy disposition that makes people feel welcome.
Sure.
So does that explain a little bit?
Yeah, I think that helps to how to engage them on that personal level.
Let me go to a wedding. So as you welcome the guests in, then individually, I memorise their seat tables where they are. So as much as I can, I'll know where table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is. So when I get their name, so I take on the role of probably the event coordinator.
Sure.
And just stand there with them and just say, hi, you're table number 5. Great, no worries. And I find their name out, and then I commit their name to memory for that night. Now, I can't keep it after that. I've got to drop them because this head gets too rattled. So just as much as possible, remember their names and then go and acknowledge them by their name. That makes someone feel very important. And,
yes.
And then to mix and mingle before the bride and groom come in the room. Hi, how you going? Nice work, well done. Taking their photo. That's another way to interact. Whereas otherwise, why are you out there? What do you need to talk to me for? So, just taking a photo. So take a photo of them. Now, most of the time I'll display those photos instantly on the screen that either I take with a TV, or if they've got a monitor or a screen at the venue up on that. So it's a way to make them the stars of the show for that night. Now, my photos aren't keepsake. Mine are happy snaps, but they're to create another level of atmosphere that night.
Sure.
So, you've got your real photographer who does that, and I make sure that, we touch base with them and I don't offend them and everything's okay, because I don't have to take photos. Mm-hmm. And so therefore that's not part of what I share with the bride and groom too much early on, but I take a few snaps to ensure that we have that, that engagement, and that people that are there become the stars or become part of that day.
Very much so. Yeah, that's a great idea. We do a version of that also with that during a cocktail time of taking pictures. And until you've done it, you don't realize what a powerful thing. And mentioning referrals earlier, that's probably one of the things that we've had most.
And doing
referrals.
it at the ceremony. So I go to the ceremony and I'll do
nice.
their music at the ceremony and take photos from the ceremony. And so when the guests get in before the bride and groom, which is what we do here in Australia, the guests already come into the room with seeing the photographs of the bride and groom getting married, 2 or 3 hours earlier. So it's a very much, oh, wow. And often they think it's the photographer.
Sure.
And I make very clear that, these are some snaps of mine. You'll get some great photos from the photographer at the end of the session. So
When they're done, sure.
make sure that you give them a bit of kudos.
Yeah, you got to make sure that photographer, you don't step on toes there too much.
Because otherwise, the photographer wants to grab his iPod and DJ as well. And I'm not trying to step on his thunder. So I make sure that they understand that if they're out of focus, these aren't the photographer's photos.
Let's see. It was somebody was wondering if you deal with drunks at your events differently than we do. So how, in essence, if you have an intoxicated guest and such.
Yeah. I've won every fight I've had by 100 meters or 100 yards. So very quick to run. So yes, we get drunk people, very much so. Like on the weekend, the function I did at the weekend, it was a Christmas party. All the alcohol is being paid for by the boss,
yep.
And so they don't necessarily like each other. 200 people at this event, all from different areas. There's 3 separate businesses all owned by the same person. So they were very happy just to get drunk on the boss, and didn't really know the others, so didn't care. So I'm able to I talk with them, I build them up. It's often about mirroring and matching them as well too. So you mirror and match. They'll come up and say, "Can you play me AC/DC?" And at the moment, if I'm in a set of doing R&B, or I'm doing country, or I'm doing whatever it is at that time, and I think that'll be great, I'll bring it round to that eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if it's a song that I don't think is going to work, I'll say, "Fantastic song, AC/DC are awesome," and they are. But how about I do X, Y, Z now? And so just lead them and guide them. It's very much about humouring them, pacifying them, and ensuring that they sort of feel like they've got an outcome and they've been heard, for want of a better word.
I think the concept that you're showing that you're hearing them, even if you aren't going to react. But that is, if there's any little piece of gold in that was definitely it, because that's 9 times out of 10 they want someone to say, "God, AC/DC rocks, man, I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs."
Yeah, and it's got to be genuine, because I mean, say, "Look, mate, that's a great song. That's a great song, but that's probably going to kill the dance floor right now."
Yep.
And look, okay, so I don't always say this, but probably in my nightclub days, I'll just give you a little part of my cheekiness, okay? So a guy would come up to me and say, "Hey, mate, play this rock song." Yep, no worries. Say, do you like girls? And he'd say, "Yeah, what are you talking about?" "Well, if I play this song, which is a great song, all the girls will leave and then all the blokes will be left. So if you want to stay here and take a guy home, that's totally cool with me. But if you want to get a chick, how about I do some chick songs, keep them there so that you got a chance to score?" Yeah, good idea, mate. Yeah, cool. No worries. So therefore, I'm looking after you, and we still get what we want at the end. It depends on the person and how you react to them.
Oh, for sure.
But it's just a way to be able to say, hey, I hear what you're saying. This is awesome. But man, if you want to, see the chicks dancing, mate, if I play this, they're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go somewhere else. Especially from a nightclub point of view, that was very much an angle that I cheekily did it with a smile on my face, because you've got to be able to, pull that off and have a little bit of flair about it. So
yeah, that's good.
I wouldn't say I'd do that now.
No, but that would have been.
But it's definitely with the right person, and that you can get away with some things. It's very much you can allude to that style of thing with them, or it's a great song, but it's probably not appropriate for this time. But awesome, love it, great work. And if I tell you what, if I was home, I'd be playing that with you now.
Oh, fun.
And then suggest something back to them so that they've got and then they've approved it. So it's a great way to get them that they've been heard.
Let's see, genre of music, specifically one area that was asked about earlier. One of our guys that's a regular here, Reggie, is just huge in polkas in Wisconsin. He does a lot of polka music.
As in heel and toe polka? Is that what you mean?
The polka, it's a 4/4 thing where it's a oompa. Beer barrel polka. Trying to think of the birdie dance. It was done as a polka.
Yep, like a bush dance. Is it like a bush dance type thing?
I'm not familiar with bush.
Okay.
Bush dance. So
A bush dance is something that we do like an older style of music where you might call the dance. And so swing your partner round
okay,
and round,
that would be
round and
that would
round.
be
Here
square
we go,
dance.
and up and down, and here we go.
That would be our square dance.
Open the eye and step on the toe.
Yep,
round
yep,
and
yep.
round and round we go.
Yep, do-si-do your partner and bring them. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that would be that. No, the old time polka was a lot of the bands that were doing that came from the northern European area, and it was generally a tuba and an accordion or and then the percussion and such, and they would be basically playing some oompa music is what a lot of people.
The question is,
Well, they were wondering if you played that type of music down there.
I make up a lot of my own dances to different songs. And, so I've made up some fun dances to make it funny and enjoyable, because if people get some direction, because look, without a doubt, see, in the States, I've been there a couple of times, but in the States, my impression of it is people still dance quite well to R&B. In Australia, the men don't dance until they're drunk.
Yeah.
Whereas it's getting better as, over the last, 20 odd years. But, boys had never danced together in Australia. That was it was uncool, especially at the nightclubs. But now, because they weren't great dancers, it's now that's slowly changing.
Sure.
And so R&B is very much a slow, the music at the moment is around 80 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult to make a dance floor electric to light it up. So I do some things with a number of different dancers to give them some direction so they know how to dance. I know that in the States, when you play the nutbush, it's a big staple here in Australia. Tina Turner's nutbush is something I think you do the Madison to something else. Is that correct?
Tina, what was the song?
So the nutbush?
No, actually, I've never.
Nutbush City Limits?
No.
Stop it.
Nutbush?
Nutbush City Limits by Tina Turner.
No.
We do a big dance.
I've never heard. Now I'm gonna have to. We got to check this out. Anyway,
You better.
I'm checking.
Right, so what happens is, I'll play it for you.
Yeah, as long as we're talking over it, we'll be fine. Huh.
You know that song?
Okay, so in the chat room, if anyone has played that song, Steve, I've never heard that song before.
No way! Stop it!
I know.
So we've just expanded your horizons.
Goodness gracious!
So we do a dance. We do a dance to that in Australia. That's very common. That everyone knows, and everyone they probably get sick of it. But when you're doing an event, it's about a private event. You want to do songs that are familiar. I mean, if you're at a nightclub, by all means, you take them on a journey to new tracks that you want to go to. At an event, you want to make people feel comfortable, make them feel familiar. So you do as many familiar songs to as many people as possible. If you've got a song that's old too, and it's been remade, fantastic, because that way then you can, if it's a good remake, you can then look after the older people as much as you can the younger people. So things like Hey Baby.
Yep.
Hey Baby out of the 60s. Now that the DJ Otzi Hey Baby from early 2000s. Fantastic song to mix and mingle between old and younger generations.
Okay, so Hey Baby, I know that one. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Everyone knows it.
Yeah, Glenn is the only one that's mentioned. Okay. Ryan Hancock is also probably from your neck of the woods.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. Like that. There's some of the, I suppose, songs what you'd call like a line dance that you guys would do there.
Yeah.
But more to not country music, for one of the better.
So in these particular dances like this, you were talking that you do like to do them with different songs and such. Are you doing like a follow me dance where you're like, hey, I'm up on stage and do these actions and follow me, or is it something that the guests know these things?
No. Yeah, I'm definitely doing a follow me dance.
Okay.
And creating, and so I love to dance too. So that's part of the entertainment.
Nice.
Factor experience. So that's how I got into DJing, because I love to dance, and I thought, gee, wouldn't it be good to dance, play the music, and get paid for it all at the same time? What a great idea. So I've been doing this 25 years full time. So I've got 4 children and my wife's never worked. So, it can be done. And, I've worked my butt off though. and do a number of different hours. But as I've scaled back now, still just getting better quality jobs, and really once you become a unique product, not just your music. See, I don't want to be called a DJ anymore, even though that's how you market for it.
Yep.
Whenever I get write-ups in the paper, or I get go do something on radio, or I'm racing cars, or I'm doing something of that nature that I enjoy doing. I love the fact that I've been able to change it from local DJ to local personality Steve Bowen. And so I'm referred to as local personality, or personality Steve Bowen, or entertainer. And it's great. Even though I don't sing and I'm a terrible singer, I try and do everything else I can possible to make it entertaining as well as play music.
Sure.
So whether it's games, it's activities, it's trivia, it's origami, whatever it takes to make that fun, enjoyable, and connect. I don't tell jokes either, but I'm a situational gagger. I'm an ad-libber. I love ad-libbing, and I love to just fly by the seat of my pants. But by no means am I a comedian, and by no means am I, do I tell jokes. But people would say I'm funny.
Sure.
So probably because of the way I look.
And a lot of that, the success of that part of it is the listening you mentioned earlier, and being there, being present, and being in the moment with the guests as these situations are coming up.
And in the moment's the key, without a doubt, because we only have this moment right now. No, right now. No, right now. No, now. So you've got to be in the moment, and being in the moment is about being present and being vulnerable. Like being vulnerable and open yourself up, so people know that, that I'm honest with them when I share with them. And I like to have a little bit of fun with them. Don't get me wrong, but it's in an honest way. It's I'll say to people when they come in, and by all means, you guys can use this. I'll say, man, you guys are the second best dressed couple here. Well done. And then they say, second best? Who's the first? And then I say, I haven't seen the first yet. Well done. Just little things to make them feel special and fun and a little bit jovial without it being disrespectful and without it being, uncomfortable, and it's how you deliver that, because you've got to say that in a way and smile in a way that you look into their eyes and do that. You can't just turn away and, it doesn't work. And, I've practiced a lot and, you find the line real quick.
Got a question here from Glenn M. was wondering, what type of origami do you fold?
Usually napkins, just usually swans, nothing too major.
Okay.
Pterodactyl.
You mentioned the racing cars, Steve, and people are asking about that now. You have to show and got to share. Okay,
so I race tarmac rally. It's something I've done over the last 10 years because I became a workaholic. I would do 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week, easy. And I was doing radio and I was doing DJing. I had 20 staff working for me, and I worked for them. I didn't work for me or for my clients anymore. I became, just working for them. So it was a little bit after 9/11 actually, and that inspired me to, wow, I might be a workaholic. I might have to do something else, because I thought, well, this world's a little bit, I think this world's a beautiful place. It's some of the people in it that are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I started, I bought a classic car. I bought an old MG for the Americans. That's a British little roadster. And I bought that and thought it was great. And then I took it around a racetrack one day. They had an open day to race. And so I raced it and, and I loved it. So I bought myself a very ordinary race car for a couple of $1,000. And then I stepped that up again, and I stepped it up again. And so now I own a Mitsubishi Evo 10. We've just done an event called Targa Tasmania, which is the biggest tarmac rally in the world. And so just we made a little book on the event, and it's just been at our local library museum, showing some of the events that I've done. And I love it. There's no prize money in it, and every bit of money that I've made, I'm tipping pretty much into that race car, much to my wife's disgust.
So now there was almost nothing really for skills that go from your entertainment really to the motor sports world. I'm guessing Is it just because it's just a complete opposite thing or a complete different thing that it's a relaxing thing for you?
Well, I don't know whether you call going flat out around a racetrack or a road on tarmac roads relaxing, but it's definitely exciting. I love living on the edge. I live with a motto, with a purpose in life, because I've got lots of goals, and as you achieve the goals, the bad thing about achieving goals is that you've got to reset another one, otherwise you plateau and do nothing.
Yep,
So
good point.
I came up a long time ago with a purpose in life, and I call it my gravestone purpose. And it's not to be morbid, but it's about living your life so that if you were to die tomorrow or today, what would you think would be appropriate to be written on your gravestone? And so I've got three a gravestone purpose, three of them, and one of them is to suck as much air out of every day. In other words, just to live as fast as I can, or as much as I can. 2 is to love the people around me, and keep them involved in the day. And 3, without a doubt, is to be as happy as I possibly can. So that's a purpose in life that I can wake up to every day and achieve, and I don't have to reset it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty confident that if I died tomorrow, if that was written on my gravestone, people would say, "Yeah, that's pretty much
that's it. You did it."
And if you're not, then you can then make some adjustments, and you can pull yourself up on it. And having that written down, I've got a little happy list I've got to make me happy. So to continue on, and writing lists and goal setting, and even minor goal setting, I find it challenging to set a goal for 3 years' time and then stick to it, because it seems so far away, because I'm so, you could call me impatient.
Sure.
But and so therefore doing minor goal setting, doing daily goal setting, and writing those things down and prioritizing those things for the day is a great way to feel like you're achieving something, and still being able to get to the big picture eventually.
Yeah, I think that goal setting idea is something that if you don't do these things, and good intention, paves the way to whatever they refer to that as. If you're not writing them down, or you're not setting those goals for the day, half those things aren't going to get done.
Well, you made a commitment, and it's open for public. I often write things on my mirrors, so everyone in my family gets to see them. And it's a great way, because you look in the mirror all the time, and so without a doubt, I had these cards made up, postcards made up, and I've done a lot of accelerated learning training as well. But the postcard said, "Lay blame, justify" in red, and then above it had a line, and above the line it said responsibility. So responsibility, then a blue line, then in red, lay blame, justify. And so I put them in every mirror in our household, so our children knew that if you're going to lay blame or you're going to justify what you're doing, you've got to live above the line and take responsibility. So all I had to do was just say, "Kids, live above the line," or "Steve, live above the line," and take responsibility for the actions that we do. And when you can do that, then you're in charge of your life. Because if you say, "Oh, I couldn't do that because it was her fault," or I couldn't start DJing full time because I had a young family, you can lay blame on that and justify that all your life.
Yep.
If you want it bad enough, you take responsibility for it. And I'll tell you what, when your wife doesn't work and you've got 4 kids, you work your ass off.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you end up taking the responsibility for the success of the household, and that's a big step. I applaud you.
And everything else you do,
Yeah.
So if I have an accident, a car accident, and even if I'm not in the right, it's also still my responsibility, because I was at that moment there at that time.
Yeah.
So, I take it on board that, that's my responsibility as well, because I was there. I could have taken the street earlier. I could have slowed down a little bit. I could have done any myriad of other things. So it's about taking responsibility. It doesn't mean you can't, have some choice words to say to them, but still take responsibility for it and, move forward.
Yeah. Good stuff. Very, very good stuff. Let's see. We got a drawing to do here quickly.
Okay.
We're going to be giving away. Let's see. We have got. We're going to be doing a PC DJ, a Dex 3. That's their full DJ software that we'll be giving away, and that's going out to a.
I'll draw that. Here we go.
Craig Winslow is our winner of this one from Tiki Hut Entertainment. Craig, we'll get you a link, and find out all about you. No, we'll get that. We'll be in touch and get that over to you. So,
Well done, Craig. Good job.
Steve, before we wrap up, I want you mentioned goals and talking about that. Could you share one of your kind of a I don't want to call it a bucket list type of a goal, but maybe that's what I'm kind of looking for. It's kind of a big goal that you have out there that you're working towards.
Whoa, that's a great one. So I've got a fair few things on my bucket list, and a lot of them aren't nowadays. They aren't probably work orientated or career orientated.
Mm-hmm.
Very much now from a personal point of view, about a bit more travel, spending a bit more time. Because at the moment, like, even though sure extra money would be great, that's not my motivator. And I earn good dollars with what I do, and I value my services. And for someone regionally, I charge a worthwhile amount for what I do. And I've tried to pick up that level of quality and value in my region. So what's
Sure.
great in my region is, people can charge half of what I charge and still earn some good dollars. And we've been able to lift that level. And my goal is to lift that level in Australia, and not only in Australia, around the world, so that people value what you do as a career, because this is a career choice for me. And it's very unusual to be able to do something you love and to be able to have done it for 25 years full time. And sure, you have to diversify. Don't get me wrong. I've got other little, we've built jukeboxes that we hire out as well too. And we've got some other things, music in shopping centres that we lease out every month. So, you need to diversify, and especially from a country point of view. If I was just an R&B DJ or just a country DJ or just a nightclub DJ, it would probably tough. So to have that diversification and to open yourself up for other ideas gives you lots of tools to be able to handle something when it comes up. And I can drop a game at a drop of a hat. Now, I used to take a lot of props with me to events. Now I use the people as props, and it's great to be able to do that and build them up and turn them into stars. So from a goal point of view, to answer your question, for me is to leave a legacy. As the chairman of the DJ AA in Australia, the DJ Alliance of Australasia, I want to leave a legacy so that people know that they can do this full time if they choose,
Sure.
or even part time if they choose. It's it doesn't have to be done full time for you to be successful or for you to consider yourself a professional. It's very much about doing something that is a worthwhile career, and there is a skill and an art to what we do. Not only about the style of music that you play and how you choose it and how you present it, but also how you deliver it from a personality point of view as well.
A legacy. I like that.
I want to leave a legacy because, I haven't written a book yet. I haven't sang a song yet. So I want to leave a legacy for not only my children, but for, their children's children, and for anyone else who thinks, well, I'd like to do this. This would be great. That it can be done, and to pave the way so that we've got the ability and the structure to support people and to help them through it.
Very nice. Good stuff. Good stuff across the board tonight, Steve. Thank you much. If people would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and say hi?
Ring me. No, so I'm very much kinesthetic. Now, I didn't know what that word meant when I first heard it, but I love to talk and interact. So a client, now everyone emails or Facebooks you or something of that nature, and I just say, hi, thanks very much. What's your number so I can call you?
Sure.
I've got to sit down. I've got to talk with them, regardless of the function. I need to understand it. I need to feel where they're at, and I have the ability to do that and understand that and to get across my energy and my enthusiasm. Because people ask me all the time, so, well, what do you do in events, Steve? What makes you so different? And, man, I can't tell you until you see it.
Yeah. Until you get a feel for it.
And that's why I did a function, 1,000 miles away on the weekend, because that person had seen it and wanted to share that with with their team. So get in touch with me. You can call me at bowensentertainment.com.au. I've got a very plain website because I want to talk to people.
Sure.
I don't want to give them too much information in the website. I just want to show my passion and share that with them on a live basis. Because, younger kids today, or younger, they're not going to be able to communicate one-on-one soon. And I'll be doing workshops how to communicate one-on-one without your screen.
There's your
Without your screen.
There's a retirement. What are you going to do? I'm going to teach kids how to communicate. It's going to be great.
Yeah, without a screen.
Without a screen. Well, thank you guys for watching and being with us tonight on Facebook and YouTube. You can check Steve out. He's got his website. Yeah, website.
You can email me info@bowensentertainment.com.au. Ring me. My number's. I only give out my office number.
I was going to say it's on the website. They can find it there, or they can search for you on Facebook, and they'll find you there.
No problem.
Sounds great. Thank you, Steve, once more. We'll be back tomorrow night. We've got, I think, 2 or 3 shows coming up tomorrow night. Check out tomorrow morning. We'll put them up on DJNTV, the links for the shows and such. But we got our Tuesday night with Ben Still. And actually, tomorrow night's Ben Still. We're going to be doing it right from here. Ben is coming through, and we're going to be doing it right from the DJNTV headquarters, side by side. So that should be an interesting show because there's no lag.
Face to face without a screen.
Exactly. There will be no screen tomorrow night, so it'll be an interesting night. So, gang, have yourself a great evening. Steve, thanks for being on again.
Thank you, guys. I look forward to coming to the States soon.